So it's raining outside today. Gonna do a little work on the Mustang since we can't drive it. All right, so the instrument panel comes out with 4 screws here, 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 and the last one's right there. Right there. There we go. My big hand in the way. So we're gonna try and take this out. Maybe I'll just check the connection on the gauge first, see maybe that's my problem. So I got all the screws out. One thing, guys, you ever notice that the best screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver, in your toolbox is always the oldest one? That's the one that doesn't strip anything. I don't know, that thing's probably older than me. I probably got it from my dad. I don't know where it came from, but I'm thinking it came from him or his garage without him knowing it maybe. Rest in peace, Pop. But yeah, that's the one that never strips. A Phillips head screwdriver is the oldest one. So I got all these screws out. The best screw holder right there, the console, obviously. We put the screwdriver down there in it with it, and be careful not to stab ourselves on it. And I don't know, I've never pulled this cluster out before, but I think I just got to work on it. I'm gonna have to put the camera down for a second. So here's my pro tip. Always make sure you look really close, because hey, look, we got a couple screws under here as well. So let's see if I can fish that one out. Right there it is. So I'm gonna pull those out real quick, and then our cluster should slide out. Okay, sorry for the glare, but one of you guys try and remind me when I go to put this back in, the screws on the bottom, there's only 2 of them, are shorter than the screws on the top. And this thing already started to come out, so let's see here. If I can just pull this back. I don't know if I can one-hand this or not. Maybe. Okay, yeah, it's coming out now. All right, let's see here. I'm gonna have to set this camera up so I can use both hands and not pull a wire out anywhere. All right, so I wish I could tell you how easy this was. Getting the speedometer cable off, but it's not, especially with no slack in it whatsoever. And being left-handed, so I'm doing this with my right hand, but you got to kind of finagle your hand up behind it like I got it. You can't see it, but over here, my right hand that I never use, and get that speedometer cable off the back. And then you can just kind of tilt this down. So let me bring this closer. So you can see behind your dash right there. I hope you can see that, but this is the gauge I'm looking at right here. And I think I'm gonna have to label all these wires before I pull them off. I don't wanna screw anything up, so we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I don't know if you can see down in there, but there are wires everywhere. So I'm gonna go get myself some tape and a Sharpie, and I'm gonna label all these as I pull them off so I don't fuck anything up. Excuse my language. Okay, got my tape, got my Sharpie. Always remember a couple things working on the electrical system. Disconnect the battery, okay? Also make sure you have every tool you need. Bingo. I'm gonna start labeling wires. Okay, so a couple things. There are a lot of wires in here, so I'm labeling them all because I'm not an electrician. I hate electricity. But a lot of these little bulbs, be careful. All you have to do is give them a little bit of a counterclockwise turn, and they'll pull out. I wouldn't use, unless you've got the touch of a doctor or surgeon actually, I wouldn't use pliers on them because they will break easily. I didn't break any of them. I'm just using my bare hands on them, but they do pull out. They have a little resistance to them, but make sure you're labeling all these things. Okay, so we got the cluster out, and a cluster it was. Let's see if I can show you this. There you can see all of my light bulbs and wires for each gauge that I pulled, I labeled. And that crafty speedometer cable, which will be sneaky getting back in as well. But now we're gonna try and get this gauge out. Okay, so my workbench is my table miter saw. Yeah, I got all this wood here in a miter saw and I haven't built myself a workbench yet, but anyway, we got our cluster here. Screws take the back of it off. Looks like there's 6 of them probably. Okay, here we go, last screw. So we got 2, 4, 6, 8 on this thing. Hopefully that takes it off. Let's see here. Oh, look at that. Okay, so cluster's out, everything's out, and if you can see here, the blue items are where your bulbs go, and then there's 2, one upper left, one upper right, which I believe are your turn signals. So we're replacing all these bulbs, and then we're gonna put this cluster back in. Okay, so we got 7 bulbs that go in this, and as you can see here, they look like this. So I'm not gonna make you watch me replace all these 7 bulbs, just know I'm getting ready to do it. And they're just a twist in, twist out. You can see how I labeled all the wiring, so I wouldn't get confused putting the cluster back in. Okay, just putting the screws back in the cluster, back onto the dash. You guys remember, short screws bottom, long screws top, that's right. So I was also looking to replace my amp gauge. So here's where all the gauges are. I use CJ Pony Parts. I was shocked a little bit at the cost. They're about 60 bucks total with shipping. I had a few different ones to choose from here. Luckily for my situation, I cleaned up the connections and plugged them back in tight, and my amp gauge works, so I didn't need to replace that. So I was also going to look at replacing the whole instrument cluster panel. I was shocked. Probably about close to $800 with shipping for the original dial type. I just happened to be scrolling through and saw those. What I was really looking for was the all digital instrument cluster. I'll bring that up here in a second. But I watched a couple of videos on this, and I also read a couple of articles, and they're not necessarily just plug and play. They're a little less expensive than the original dial clusters, but it's still probably going to cost you around 600 bucks to get one shipped and everything. They do give you a good range of trim package, whether it was a GT or just a standard Mustang. So as you can see here, I think the choice that I would have gone with was this one, which was the blue, and that is the actual trim package that was on my Mustang as well, which was a 66. I do like the way these things look. I really want to put one in my car. I know it's not original, but I think it's exceptional looking, but I just couldn't justify spending that kind of money right now, especially when I fixed my gauge and all I had to do was put the dashboard back in. Okay, so that's going to do it for my video today. Not exactly brain surgery, but I hope it helped you if you do need to take the dash or the instrument cluster out of your Mustang. Hopefully this will help you out a little bit. Remember, I hope your speedometer cable has more slack in it than mine did. But if you did like this video, if you found it helpful, if you could please hit the thumbs up, turn on notifications, and subscribe, and we'll have another video out for you soon. Thanks.